Good morning. Welcome to today's meeting on the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs for the 2025 legislative session. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Carter, DeLong,
Present.
De Silva, Edgeworth, Flanagan, Gallant, Golding, Gurr, Hunt, Jackson, Karras, Kasama, Nguyen, Chair Considine.
I am here as well. Please mark Assembly members Carter, Flanagan, and De Silva present as they arrive. Welcome to the audience here in Carson City, those joining by conference in Las Vegas, and those listening over the internet today. I would like to begin with some housekeeping measures. Please take a moment to ensure that your electronic devices are silenced. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card to our committee secretary. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state your name and any affiliation for the record. Turn the microphone off each time you are done speaking. If you are providing handouts, please ensure that hard copies are available for members of the public. Electronic copies should have been submitted to our committee secretary by 9 a.m. yesterday for our committee members. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we disagree with someone else's position. And I encourage committee members to ask questions and engage with the material presented. If you have any follow-up questions, please flag them for me so we can ensure we balance our time effectively during today's meeting. And committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Please do not interpret this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. Today we are going to hear two bills. First, and we are hearing them out of order. First, we will hear Assembly Bill 442, which revises provisions relating to grants, followed by AB 180, which revises provisions relating to local governments. To ensure we get through everyone fairly and in a timely manner, we will set a 20-minute time limit for each period of support, opposition, and neutral testimony, with each speaker having 2 minutes. To ensure we allow as many people as possible to testify, please say ditto if someone else has already covered your testimony. And with that, let's get started. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 442. To present this measure, we have Assemblymember Watts, and please go ahead when you are ready.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I am Howard Watts. I represent Assembly District 15 right in the heart of Clark County, and it's my pleasure to present Assembly Bill 442 for your consideration today. I am also joined in Southern Nevada by Henry Rosas with the United Way of Southern Nevada and Miles Dixon with Nevada Grant Lab. Just to give you a quick overview, I'm going to talk a little bit about why I brought this measure forward and why I think it's extremely important. Then my co-presenters are going to provide some additional detail from their experience and work with the nonprofit sector. They'll walk through the sections of the bill, and then we will close and take any questions that you may have. One other thing that I do just want to note for all of the members of the committee is that out of respect for your time and understanding the limits that are on testimony today, there are many exhibits that have been submitted from nonprofits explaining exactly why this bill is important to them. So at its fundamental level, AB 442 is about making sure that our state is a more responsive partner with our nonprofit sector in meeting the needs of our community. You know, nonprofits are a vital partner in providing services, whether it's education, healthcare, conservation, public safety, you name it. There are nonprofits out in the community helping go above and beyond what we can do in state government. They're supporting local governments and helping build stronger communities. But unfortunately, they have run into barriers when it comes to partnering with the state and receiving state grants to do that work. We have heard many stories about folks who cannot get paid in a timely manner. And we have also heard stories of people who cannot even pursue these grants because they do not have the cash on hand or the capital to do work and then wait to get money reimbursed back from the state. So this bill looks to address that through two fundamental elements. One, it would allow nonprofits who meet certain requirements to get up to 25% of a grant advanced to them by the state to make sure that they have the resources to get to work on the ground right away. The other portion of the bill requires prompt payment. So once a complete invoice has been provided from a nonprofit to the state, it needs to be paid within 1 month. Otherwise, interest would accrue on that because that is time that nonprofits have to struggle. They still have to make their payroll. They've already spent money delivering these services. We want to make sure that we are providing a more modern and accountable and efficient state government, and that we are doing everything that we can to be partners with the nonprofit sector in meeting the needs of our community. So with that, I'll turn it over to my co-presenters in Southern Nevada.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Watts. Henry Rosas for the record with United Way of Southern Nevada. I'm very excited to be, what will always be the hardest working committee in the Nevada State Legislature, to share a little bit more context on how we arrived to the solution today and the work that we've done to connect with both nonprofits and other stakeholders during the interim to arrive at AB 442. So really, this work started in 2023. Submitted as an exhibit to the committee is a study conducted by Nevada Grant Lab, really showcasing the undersized, understaffed, and underfunded nature of the nonprofit sector compared to similarly sized regions. And I will try to promptly summarize the multi-page report, but I think as Assemblymember Watts mentioned, the last bullet on the slide here showing the inability of most nonprofits to cover more than 3 months of expenses, I think is one of the more alarming points, but has also allowed us to delve into two distinct conversations which the bill hopes to address. So on the one hand, thinking about delayed reimbursement timelines. In December, we conducted a study of the sector. We had about 150 responses. We heard from nonprofits of having to take lines of credit to meet payroll and deliver programs because of delayed reimbursements. And about a quarter of those respondents said that they have waited over 60 days for reimbursements for grants. And so that's one part of the conversation, right? Without adequate cash on hand and cash reserves for many nonprofits, it poses a challenge to have sustainable cash flows and services. On the other hand, the second part of the conversation is acknowledging the startup costs that are associated with administering a program. So if you think of, for example, a childcare facility, it's not just the hiring of teachers and center directors, but it also may be retrofitting a facility so our tiniest learners can have a safe place to learn and grow. And that all is part of the startup cost to administering a program. And that is a challenge for nonprofits as they, we work on very, very lean budgets, as we hear a lot in the state context, but that's also true for the nonprofit context as well. And so those two distinct conversations have really allowed us to arrive at the solution that we're here to present today. But really the growth opportunity that we've identified over the interim is, as stewards of taxpayer dollars, how can we administer funding to our community more efficiently while maintaining these very strong accountability and transparency measures? And so we're very excited about this government efficiency piece of legislation that aims to do the two-pronged approach that Assemblymember Watts mentioned, so allowing for essentially kind of kickstarting the work with some access to capital upon meeting very stringent requirements on the advance payment side. And then the prompt payment side, right, having nonprofits have an expected timeline for when to receive reimbursement is essential for them to have concrete service delivery and being able to meet all of the operational expenses that it takes to administer programs for our community. And so before I hand it over to my colleague from Nevada Grant Lab, just really want to just show my appreciation for the community feedback that we've received. We've had many convenings, meetings, summits to learn from the nonprofit sector. So this is really a collaborative effort. We have the majority of our counties represented from a variety of sectors. You will see some of their letters of support on NELIS, but you'll also hear from some of them in the room in both Carson City and Las Vegas today. but also really thankful for our state agencies who have been wonderful thought partners in this work. We know there's a little bit more work to do, but we are all very driven by this desire to be the best public servants that we can and the best stewards of funding and making sure that we can meet the needs of our community as efficiently as possible. So I will now turn it over to my colleague at Nevada Grant Lab to do the section-by-section overview of the bill.
Hello, good morning. My name is Miles Dixon. I'm the CEO of Nevada Grant Lab. I want to briefly acknowledge that there are really kind of three things that we're trying to accomplish with this legislation. One is adopt and implement some of the lessons learned throughout administration of the American Rescue Plan Act dollars. Two is to align state statute with federal guidelines, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. And I think three, especially over the last couple months, thinking about what Nevada can do that's within the state's control to increasingly streamline and simplify federal grant administration, especially as the prospect of doing so is increasingly challenging and unknown coming out of DC. So on the federal side, I want to acknowledge that the 2 CFR Part 200, commonly known as the Uniform Guidance, establishes uniform administrative cost and audit requirements for federal awards to all non-federal aid entities, including those subawardees. What this bill is attempting to do is align state statute and actually codify statute such that Nevada is in alignment with the federal requirements. In October of 2024, the Uniform Guidance received the most significant update it had in more than 10 years. Part of the uniform guidance that I want to highlight here is Section 200-305, which addresses federal payment processes. This requires timely payment and advance payment. Those are the core concepts included in 442. Without going into too much detail of the federal requirements, I'll simply say that under 2 CFR, advance payments are now the default payment mechanism in certain circumstances. Those certain circumstances are not a low bar. They require things like subrecipient monitoring, clear demonstrations that justify both the advances necessary as well as all of the costs that are being requested are eligible and appropriate for the grant. In absence of the ability to offer advance payment, reimbursement payment continues to be the preferred method, and within that, it requires payment within 30 days. So moving into the sections of the bill, sections 2 through 7 inclusive, are definitions. I want to especially bring your attention to section 6, which defines a proper invoice. That's one that that includes all of the necessary information as well as backup in order for an invoice to comply with 2 CFR and presumably other state agency requirements. We want to make sure that proper invoice is correctly defined here to balance the responsibility for getting paid on time, of course with the state, but also with nonprofits themselves. The state can only process an invoice that actually includes the appropriate information submitted in a manageable way. And so we want to make sure that throughout this legislation, it balances the responsibility for prompt and advance payment opportunities between nonprofits and state. So again, want to flag section 6 as defining a proper invoice as the basis for payment, as well as the timely or the basis for when that clock starts ticking relative to interest. Section 8 is a policy declaration that the state will make payments within 30 days and make an advance payment when appropriate. Section 9 imposes interest on late payments at a rate that either the agency and grantee agree to in their subgrantee agreement, or if they haven't reached an agreement or stated it in the contract, the prime rate in accordance with NRS 99040. It also acknowledges in Section 2 that interest should only begin accruing on the 31st calendar day after receiving a proper invoice. It provides various exceptions to the interest penalties, importantly. That reflects some of the feedback we heard from agency staff, as Henry alluded to in discussion over the last 6 months, to make sure that things like technical difficulties within the state's IT system or closure for a weather event doesn't count against the state because those things are beyond their control. Section 4 notes that interest must be paid from the operating accounts of the agency, not from the grant funds. Interest is not typically an allowable expense under a federal grant, so this really requires the interest penalty, if any, is accrued, to be paid by the state agency, not billed back to the federal grant. Section 10 requires state agencies to review the invoice as soon as practical, and if that invoice is not proper, again, Section 6 definition of proper, that it has to notify a grantee within 14 calendar days of receipt of that invoice. This provides time for the agency to review the grant and hopefully get back to the subgrantee, again, within 14 days at most, to let them know that the invoice they received is not sufficient or not acceptable to process payment, and notify them of the specific deficiencies, if any, within that invoice. Section 11 enables a grantee, so let me pause and say that all acknowledged or focused on prompt payment sides. Moving on to advance payment, Section 11 enables a grantee to submit a request for advance payment on a form prescribed by the Governor's Finance Office Director. It requires that grantees must demonstrate that a request is for eligible expenditures and activities, justify the advance request, and describe the financial management's policies and procedures necessary to manage government funds, especially advance funds. It requires that various responsibilities that an entity, if approved, must comply with. It requires an entity submit additional information requested by the state agency. And I want to note here that while it's not specifically phrased this way, I think this is the opportunity for state agencies to engage in the appropriate subrecipient monitoring assessments that are reflected both in 2 CFR as well as state agencies' own practice. Again, state agencies are administering grants every day. Many of them have a good concept and good understanding of what they should be thinking about in terms of risk assessment. We're not trying to avoid very appropriate risk assessment of subgrantees. Section 4 allows for that. 5 directs agencies to provide in advance to the greatest extent practical. I want to note here that while we really think this is important, that is still permissive language that allows for agency discretion. Finally, in Section 6, it limits the amounts in advance depending on the source of funding, whether that's federal or state. And Section 6 through 8 require notification and reporting to GFO, along with policy and procedure adoptions from the Board of Examiners. I want to close by acknowledging the very hard work that state staff do, often without the adequate personnel or IT infrastructure that this state really could and should have in place to manage grants. I think we all understand, both in state government, in nonprofits, and perhaps in some cases in local government, we are still a ways off from what I think many of us across those 3 different organization types would like to have in terms of personnel and IT infrastructure to manage grants. And so really just want to close by acknowledging state staff, thanking them for their work, and explain that what we're really trying to do is balance this complex process between state agencies and nonprofits in a way that really helps federal funding reach the communities and the people that it is intended to serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Howard Watts for the record. So just a couple of things in closing. And this is an important issue to me personally as well. I had about 10 years of experience working in nonprofits in the state, and I will say definitely did not always have 3 months of operating reserves. I think a lot of times was happy to have 1 to 2 months of operating reserves, and so that just gives you a sense of how tight the margin is and the need to ensure that there are resources available for nonprofits to do the work that they do. The other thing I want to emphasize is that while nonprofits are not for-profit entities, they are private entities, and grants are a form of public-private partnership with the state, and we want to make sure the same way that we wouldn't expect businesses to perform services and then wait for months on end to be paid for those services rendered, we shouldn't expect that of our nonprofit community partners either. And then I do want to just note a couple things. One, this did come out of things we realized during the pandemic. We had significant federal funds that we were able to then invest in nonprofits to help address some of the issues we saw in the community. But we also quickly saw that we were having trouble actually getting that money out the door. And we heard from nonprofits that they didn't have the ability to start spending significant amounts of that money and then wait for a reimbursement. And so we actually took steps with those ARPA dollars to make advances of that money. So you saw in the presentation, there are other states that are moving in this direction, the federal government's moving in this direction, and we've also moved in that direction with those funds specifically. Now we want to codify that across the board for our state moving forward. And we are having ongoing conversations. There's a lot of concern from state agencies, rightfully, that they don't want to be caught on the hook. So one thing we want to make sure is that if they're a sub or a pass-through for a federal grant, and it is still on a reimbursement basis, they do not have to advance. Because we don't want, again, to have the state in the position where they have to wait for reimbursement now, but they're putting money out the door. And then there's definitely been conversations as well to make sure, and I think we have attempted in this language to make sure that there has to be a robust plan in place. Somebody cannot just say, please provide in advance. They have to have a detailed spending plan, and they have to prove that they have the systems in place to track and spend those dollars responsibly. So with that, we thank you for your time and consideration and are glad to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you for that presentation. We do have a couple of questions, and we will begin with Assemblymember Karas.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for bringing this bill forward. In all the touring I did of nonprofits, I could see where this is a great, great need. My question, well, before I get to my question, I want to thank you for the 16 exhibits that are not standard form letters, and each and every one from a nonprofit is very heartfelt in explaining their need in this area. But my question is this: when you were going through deciding how the penalties would happen, did you collaborate with the state, or is this something you took from other states that do this already?
Howard Watts for the record. I will turn it over to my co-presenters, but I will say yes, there have been ongoing conversations with many state agencies as we've worked on the development of this policy. At first, we were looking at specifying an interest rate in statute. We modified that in conversations with different agencies. And I will say, you know, the goal is that interest does not accrue and that we can get these paid promptly. I am cautiously optimistic about the state's upgrade of its human resources and financial systems that will really help streamline and enable agencies to process these payments faster. But at the same time, if we do not have some teeth to this, if there's not a consequence, then it makes it very easy to have it be an aspiration that doesn't become reality. So if my co-presenters would like to add anything, I'll turn it over to them.
Henry Rosas for the record. Thank you so much, Assemblymember, for that question. And just to echo Assemblymember Watts's remarks, one of the things that we also were trying to design during the interim was how do we match private sector practices, right? Thinking of private contractors to up to par with the sector. And so those conversations on the interest rate penalty and what those look like on the private sector side were conversations that we hope to mirror here. But yes, to Assemblymember Watts's point, we are working with state agencies to just find that middle ground solution. And we've incorporated some of their feedback already into this bill. And of course, we did look at other states to see what is best practice. But of course, always looking at Nevada and seeing what we do here for the private sector. And so that's part of the rationale for that portion of the bill as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Assemblymember Watts, for the presentation. I'm sorry I didn't get to see all of it, but having a lot of nonprofit experience and working with various agencies from Urban Lakes to Coleman to After School All-Stars, well, on our side, the state side, will they kind of keep a database of certain programs that are already proven so that it makes it a little bit easier to establish these relationships with the funding support to the nonprofits in advance?
Thank you for that question. Howard Watts for the record. I'll also turn this over to see if maybe Mr. Dixon has anything to add. You know, we have a long list of things that we think we can and should do to support the nonprofit sector and help support them in seeking and expending grant opportunities. So this bill in particular has just focused on the aspects of how those grants are dispersed. But, you know, whether it's the Office of Federal Assistance, they've been working to help try and compile information and get that out to members of the community. I know that, other agencies are trying to improve their outreach. And I think that once there is a little bit more certainty that when nonprofits sign up, they'll be able to access those funds in a timely and effective manner, that will increase the amount of interest. Because frankly, we have heard from nonprofits that have been interested and talked to others or looked into the details and said, never mind, and not applied for grants. There are also nonprofits who have gone through state grants and had a negative experience and decided not to continue on in those opportunities. So if Mr. Dixon has anything to add in terms of Assemblymember Flanagan's question about kind of compiling lists, I'll turn that over to him.
Sure. Thank you so much for the question, Assemblymember. Let me begin by saying I'm going to generalize a little bit because I think that
I'm sorry,
there
would you
are...
please state your name for the record?
Sure. Pardon me, Miles Dixon at Nevada Grant Lab. I'm going to generalize a bit because I think these the processes may vary a little bit from agency to agency. The majority of certainly federal government grants that are passed down through a request for proposal, or more specifically, a notice of funding opportunity announcement. So the majority of grantees are going through some sort of often competitive selection process in order to win those grants in the first place. Embedded within that are things like past performance. So grantees are often asked about their past performance, not just administering programs like this, but also administering government grants. So within the award process, the procurement process, we have quite a bit of process that helps us understand organizations that are most ready and most competitive. I will say, I think that in my experience, state agencies, state staff, whether they're at the agency or the program level or on the finance level, folks often have a considerable amount of experience and insight and expertise of organizations that do really good work, both programmatically and on the financial management side. I would love to see in the future as a state being in a place where we have a better process of sharing that information across agencies so that the state collectively, as well as other community partners, are able to best acknowledge the organizations that really have strong track records. But I just want the committee to know that processes to evaluate organizations and their competencies are embedded often within the procurement process. And I think that creates quite a bit of safeguard.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assembly Member Kasama.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for presenting this bill. I used to actually audit a lot of nonprofit organizations, and so I totally understand your comments about the cash flow issues that many of them have. When I'm looking at the bill, I actually have two kind of questions or clarification. You reference in two sections here under, let me get this straight, under the section, let me go back here. It has to do with the interest. Section 11, two places, it talks about reporting the interest that is earned on accounts. But unless I'm missing it, it doesn't say what the intent of that is. So you have the 25% advance. Talks about you have to report the interest that is earned on the account if you don't reimburse it all. And what is the intent with that interest? Is it to reduce that from following payments after that, or is it just a data collection?
Howard Watts for the record. I'm going to turn that over to my co-presenters down in Southern Nevada.
Miles Dixon, Nevada Grant Lab. That's a great question, Assembly Member. You're right, the statute doesn't direct what the use of that is. I would expect the use of that to be to reduce future payment. Interest is, I think, here really intended to both be an enforcement mechanism as well as provide some sort of coverage or remuneration in the event that an organization incurs additional cost. As you may be familiar, having it sounded like audited nonprofits, sometimes organizations end up having to take loans, right? So what we see is a nonprofit that may be facing a cash challenge that because it's waiting for grant reimbursement, it may tap into a line of credit. In most cases, I can tell you that line of credit is going to, the cost of that line of credit is going to exceed what is provided here in statute. So even if the nonprofit takes that line of credit and gets an interest payment from the state, it's still going to be in the red. Having said that, I think there could be a scenario, and I'd probably leave it to the policies and procedures adopted by the State Board of Examiners to determine what the treatment of that interest is. But I think that certainly from my perspective, the interest paid to a state agency will often be used to offset their own cost of capital. And let me ask and confirm that answers your question.
Follow-up, Chair? Yeah, I think if we just maybe have some clarification as to what the intent of that is. And if I might proceed, one of the sections here, it talks about if all of the 25% is not used, it would decrease some of the future payments. But I don't see an area here where if it is found that the funds that are being used by the nonprofit are not being used correctly, what's the vehicle for it being returned to the state? So upon audit, should it find that, I think something regarding that needs to be addressed in here too. So if it's not being used properly, it is returned to the state.
Thank you for that question, Assemblymember. Howard Watts for the record. And my sense of why that is not, might not be spelled out clearly in here is because that's already covered under grant agreements in general, that the funds have to be utilized properly, and if there's any misuse of funds, that would lead to various corrective actions, including termination of the grant, and whatever other remedies are allowable. And so all of those policies would continue to be in effect. Same thing if that advance was not spent properly. Again, if it's not the worst case scenario, then it's something that can be worked out, but essentially until those funds get spent, they're not going to be able to come and, just because they have a payment schedule, they need to spend what they've been advanced before they come and seek additional funds via reimbursement. In a worst case scenario, we would still go after recovering any funds that may be available and terminating the grant. And then if my co-presenters have anything to add.
Miles Dixon, Nevada Grant Lab. I think that the Assembly member is right. This bill builds on a pretty extensive existing body of statute, administrative code, and grant agreements that all address incorrect usage of funding. I think, again, back to the idea of subrecipient monitoring and allowing agencies to still have discretion. There is an important role for evaluating an organization's capability to use especially advanced payment correctly. So we are attempting to balance the objective of making advanced payments available to the greatest extent practical and reserving agency discretion to engage in really important subrecipient monitoring work, so that the state is not finding itself in a place of being obligated to advance funds to an organization that doesn't necessarily have the capabilities to manage it and potentially could incorrectly use them.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Based on your testimony, it sounds like you're having ongoing discussions with a number of state agencies. With that in mind, are you expecting an amendment to the language that's currently up on Nellis?
Thank you for that question. Howard Watts for the record. I think that there will probably be some amendment to the language. There are definitely ongoing conversations. As you know, sometimes those conversations are about mutual understanding of the intent of the language, and so that doesn't always necessitate a change. But again, while we've worked with many agencies and have worked to make adjustments to the language, there probably will be some more tweaks needed along the way to address issues or help provide some additional comfort to agencies on issues that they've brought up. And again, we're trying to strike this balance here of charting a clear policy direction while maintaining a solid degree of discretion to the individual state agencies as they manage these funds. And, so we don't want to be, we're trying to strike that balance between not being overly prescriptive, because we want this to be an across-the-board policy, and going too far down into statutory language to address one agency's concern might not fit in other states. So that's what we're attempting to work out. And again, I think hopefully some of those things can be resolved through ongoing conversations, but there are potential amendments that we'll be bringing forward as well.
Hey, committee members, are there any other questions? Seeing none, I want to thank you for your presentation and like to move on to testimony on the bill. Again, testimony can be provided in person in Carson City, via video conference in Las Vegas, or over the phone. Further instructions for providing testimony on a bill can be found on the agenda. And again, for today, we will be maintaining a 20-minute time limit for periods of support, opposition, and neutral testimony, with each speaker having up to 2 minutes. And just as a quick reminder, support means that you approve of the measure as written or as written along with proposed amendments that have been approved by the sponsor. Opposition means that you do not approve of the measure as written, including if you wish to propose amendments that have not been approved by the sponsor. And neutral testimony means you're offering insight on the measure but expressing no position. And I'd like to start with testimony in Las Vegas in person on Assembly Bill 442, so please go ahead when you're ready. Sorry, I meant in Carson City. I represent Las Vegas, it's my automatic, in Carson City.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee in Carson City. For the record, my name is Trevor Parrish, and I'm the Manager of Government Affairs for the Vegas Chamber. I'm here today in support of Assembly Bill 442, as this bill would streamline the grant process for nonprofits in our state. By increasing accountability and delivering grants in a timely manner, nonprofits will be more secure in their funding, which will help them continue to provide their valuable services. The Chamber would like to thank the bill sponsor for bringing this forward, and we thank the committee for your time and support of AB 442. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Sasha Sutcliffe-Stevenson here today for Help of Southern Nevada, which has proudly served the community for 55 years. As one of the largest supportive housing organizations, we want to thank the sponsor for bringing this bill on the committee for your consideration, as it will help to ensure that nonprofits can continue to serve vulnerable populations without any risk of disruption.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Shane Piccinini. I represent the Food Bank of Northern Nevada. The Food Bank of Northern Nevada has been providing food security assistance for about 40 years now. We do not do this work alone. We have a partner agency network of 155 organizations in our 13 counties that we serve. Many of those are smaller nonprofits themselves that struggle to build the capacity to keep up with the need that we're seeing. We believe that this bill is a great step in the right direction towards bringing stability to the nonprofit sector, and we thank the bill sponsors and all the stakeholders for the work that's gone into this. We ask you for your support. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Serena Evans. I'm the Policy Director for the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. Our membership includes 14 agencies across Nevada who provide life-saving services to victim survivors. State grants and state funding are a critical piece of their budgets and their success. They use these hotlines to fund they use these funds to sustain 24-hour hotlines, put families in shelter and meet basic needs such as shelter, housing, transportation. Without stable funding, victim services lose access to these critical resources. I do want to note that in the past, past year, our members have regularly had to wait for months after submitting appropriate invoices for contracted services. And more than once, that delay has crossed into different fiscal years, which has pushed their invoices to the category of state claims, which require an entirely new reimbursement process. So these delays interrupt organizations' ability to manage cash flow and meet the needs of victims. So we are in strong favor of this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Constantine and members of the Hardworking Committee on Government Affairs. My name is Leonardo Benavides with UNLV. Here today in support of AB 442. We are supporting one of our partners today in Nevada Grant Labs, who was very valuable and instrumental in UNLV receiving a $2.1 million Build Back Better grant a couple years ago. This grant was used for the UNLV Tourism Business Igniter that opened on the west side and eventually led to the micro business park that just had its groundbreaking last week. So obviously relationships like this with nonprofits are very important for us at UNLV, and this process and this bill, which speeds up that process and implementation for them, makes a lot of sense for us. So we're very happy to support this today, and thank you to Assemblymember Watts, the United Way, and Nevada Grant Labs for bringing this forward.
Good morning. My name is Robin Reedy. I'm the Executive Director of NAMI Nevada. That's the National Alliance on Mental Illness here in Nevada. I want to just give you a couple of examples of how this bill would really help nonprofits in this state. I've been doing this for 16 years, 8 of them as a volunteer and 8 of them in my position currently. And I will tell you, the state has been as far behind as 6 months. So can you imagine being behind as a nonprofit of over $250,000 being owed and trying to make payroll? Fortunately for us, we were able to raise the money, but sometimes it does mean one of our affiliates needs to borrow money and incur interest on it. So fortunately, the new systems that have been put in place appeared to be working quite well, and it's almost ahead of time, and so we're thrilled about that. But the cash flow for a nonprofit is incredibly important. One of our last grants required us to contract with 2 organizations to provide over 250 people trained in crisis intervention. Each contract was $50,000. So to put out $100,000 and wait even for the minimum of 45 days that it takes today is an incredible burden. And yet we provide fail-safe, filling the gaps that the state is not unable to do. Thank you for considering this bill. We support it, and we hope you do too.
Chair, member of the committees, my name is Johanna Tuberos with Cura Nevada on behalf of the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, the state's largest regional economic development agency serving all over Clark County. We thank the sponsors of the bill and the stakeholders such as Nevada Grant Lab for bringing this proposal over. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Considine and members of the committee. My name is Daniel Corona, and I'm here on behalf of the Tahoe Rim Trail Association in strong support of AB 442. First, I want to thank all of the bill's sponsors for championing this much-needed legislation. We'd also like to give a special shout-out to Assemblymember Watts, not just as a sponsor of AB 442, but as a thru-hiker of the Tahoe Rim Trail. Fun fact, he's number 2415 in our 165-mile club, having thru-hiked the Tahoe Rim Trail in 2019. His dedication to Nevada's public lands, and now with AB 442 to its nonprofits, is something we deeply appreciate. At the Tahoe Rim Trail Association, we're fortunate to be in a stable financial position, but we know many nonprofit organizations across Nevada are not. For smaller organizations, especially those operating on tight margins, delayed reimbursements or the inability to access upfront funding can make or break a program, or even the organization itself. I've personally seen organizations have to scale back services, delay hiring, or take out loans just to cover basic operating costs while they wait for state payments. AB 442 offers a real solution. By authorizing advance payments and requiring timely reimbursements, this bill ensures nonprofits can focus on what they do best, serving our communities, instead of stressing over cash flow. AB 442 isn't just a financial fix. It's a policy that values equity, efficiency, and partnership, and it ensures that state funds quickly reach the ground where they make the most difference. We urge your support for AB 442 and hope to see you out on the trail. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. Bradley Mayer representing Raise the Future. Raise the Future is an adoption nonprofit that works with the hardest to place foster youth to find them permanency by partnering with state and local governments. We have an employee in Nevada who spends most of their time navigating really the maze of the grants that fund us and the reimbursements that come along with it. And so this bill would go a long way to helping us and all the nonprofits really increase their efficiency in delivering the services they want, and especially with some of the upfront payment, being able to manage some of these startup costs that come along with enacting a new program. So we thank the bill sponsor for bringing it along and urge your support. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. I'm here on behalf of two organizations, the first being the United Way of Northern Nevada and the Sierra. We really want to thank our Southern Nevada colleagues for championing this issue and bringing it forward, and of course, Assemblymember Watts for sponsoring the bill. The Children's Cabinet is also who I'm here to represent. And the Children's Cabinet is a trusted intermediary for a lot of state grants that flow through down to the providers in the state. You can imagine when those services are provided, but it takes months for that reimbursement, it can be very painful, not just for the Children's Cabinet, but also for those providers downstream. I am also here to testify that in December, the Children's Cabinet was actually given an advance on some of the work that it was doing because the state's computer system was down. Once that system came back up, the state was able to work with the Children's Cabinet, true up what those invoices were with that reimbursement. That system worked. This particular piece of legislation enables other nonprofits to be able to take care of that program. We believe that was the precedent, and definitely proves that this process can work. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Committee members, Woody Worthington for the record. Part of the largest school gardens in the nation, and Nevada being one. We're one of many nonprofits across the state stepping up to meet critical community needs, from education and food access to mental health and workforce development. Nonprofits are often the first to respond and the last to leave, supporting some of the most impactful programs in Nevada. AB 442 is a powerful step forward, and by allowing upfront payments and requiring reimbursements within 30 days, it streamlines the grant process. Thank you. Please support.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for having me this morning. My name is Roxanne DiCarlo, and I'm the Executive Director for the Empowerment Center, which is a small nonprofit that supports women who suffer from addiction. I am here in favor of 442, specifically because we've recently been awarded funding so that we could build a new empowerment center. And not receiving anything in advance of that has left the burden to us to be able to fund the project. Our first bill was for $1 million from our general contractor. And we've worked it out. Don't worry, project's moving forward. But it just gives you a picture of the challenges that a small nonprofit experiences. And we are right now in the process of seeking a line of credit to help us move forward throughout the 2-year build process. So just to give you a real picture of what's happening out there, I thought it would be best that I come in person and speak this morning. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good day.
Thank you. We're about halfway through our time, so I'm going to go down to Las Vegas, then the phones, and then time permitting, we'll be back up here. So Las Vegas, if you want to start with testimony in support of 442, please go right ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Laura Meyer. I'm representing Communities and Schools of Nevada, providing testimony in support of AB 442. I want to ditto the reasons that everyone else has mentioned about the importance of this bill. This bill would not only impact the work that Communities and Schools does, but also the over 120 nonprofit partners that we work with across the state. A stronger nonprofit sector allows us to more effectively fulfill our mission to ensure that Nevada's students have the support that they need to succeed. Thank you for your consideration and your support.
Good morning, Chair Considine and committee members. Thank you very much for hearing AB 442. My name is Shar Frost for the record, and I am the chair of the Clark Regional Behavioral Health Policy Board. This was a topic that was front and center during the latter piece of the year last year. So I'm here in support of the bill on behalf of the entire Clark Regional Behavioral Health Policy Board. And I just want to stress, in addition to all of that, that many of our mental health providers are nonprofits. And we've been in a mental health crisis in the state for many, many years, not being able to get those funds to support our most vulnerable and and citizens who very much need these services that go all the way from mental health services to food security, housing security, so on and so forth. So this is a bill that would improve the lives of Nevadans across the state. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Assembly Government Affairs Committee. On behalf of the LGBTQ Center, my name is Matthew Dang. I am here to express our strong support for Assembly Bill 442, which seeks to authorize advance payments for state grants and establish proper reimbursement policy. The LGBTQ Center is dedicated to being an intersectional affirming sanctuary where Nevadans can access essential services, find empowerment, and experience genuine upliftment and holistic, compassionate community space. Nonprofits like ours provide critical care and needed service, ultimately saving taxpayers with our monies with our program. However, at times, this can come as a burden to our organization where we must wait to get reimbursed. I have heard nonprofits from recently established to recognize, bemoan the fact that they have had to take loans to pay for services while they're waiting for reimbursements. Some organizations did not take that route, could not perform the activities, and were publicly scolded by government grantors when they explained they did not have the funding to do the work. With over 30 years of service to the community, we have seen firsthand the challenges that nonprofits like ours face when payments are delayed. We urge you to please pass AB 442. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning. My name is Mimi Diebold, and I am the Director of Special Projects at the Just One Project. On behalf of the Just One Project, I am here today to express our strong support for Assembly Bill 442. This is a critical step toward ensuring that nonprofit organizations can effectively carry out their missions without the unnecessary financial burdens. In just 10 years, the Just One Project has grown from a volunteer-led community initiative to a leading community provider of food, housing, and social services. Our growth is in large part due to the ability to secure and rely on state grant funds, which help us provide vital services to Southern Nevada. At key points in the early history of our organization, we were fortunate enough to receive advance funds on large grants, which enabled us to hire new staff, purchase food and supplies, and expand our programs to meet urgent community needs. We continue to rely on the steady reimbursements to maintain our agency cash flow and the fiscal health of our organization. TGOP understands firsthand how vital advanced payments can be for a small, new, or growing agency doing important work in our community. By passing 442, the state will help nonprofits continue their vital work more efficiently, proactively, and without undue financial stress. It will empower organizations to better plan, allocate resources, and serve our communities without financial roadblocks. We thank the sponsors of this bill and commend the legislature for prioritizing this issue, and we urge swift passage of 442. The legislation will strengthen the nonprofit capacity, improve service delivery, and ultimately enhance the well-being of the Nevadans we all serve. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Joe Engel. I am the CEO of There Is No Hero and Heroine Foundation. I'm here to express strong support for AB 442. Ditto to what everybody has said. I've been around for 12 years. We supply critical outpatient treatment for adolescents and adults experiencing substance use disorder and co-occurring mental health challenges. In summary, AB 442 recognizes that effective service delivery requires predictable cash flow. By supporting this bill, you're not only helping nonprofits with bookkeeping, you're ensuring vital services remain consistently available to those who need them most. Thank you very much for your time.
Good morning, Jenny Fay with Olive Crest, working to end child abuse and neglect in Southern Nevada since 1997. We are in support of this bill. We've experienced firsthand the need for this bill. While we are so grateful for funding, the delay in payment has been challenging. For instance, this past year, as a contracted family resource center, our services were expected to begin and for a community needed to begin July 1st, but the contract was not finalized until October 18th. This meant we were providing services for 4 months without reimbursement. Even as a very well-established organization, this was challenging for us. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning. My name is Marco Rangel, Marcorangel, and I'm a political organizer with Make the Road Nevada. And I just want to ditto with what everyone said before me. And please, I strongly support AB 442. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Catherine Jacobs, and I am here in support of AB 442. I am the CEO of Umbrella Bookkeeping. We are an organization that provides fiscal services to over 40 nonprofit organizations throughout Southern and Northern Nevada. I see firsthand every day the challenges that nonprofits face in regard to cash flow and delayed reimbursement. I want to thank the sponsors for bringing this bill forward, as it is certainly a step in the right direction. And ultimately, I feel that the efficiencies created under this bill would benefit the communities for which these funds are intended to support in the first place. Thank you all.
Thank you. We will now move to the phone lines. Again, if you're on the phone in support of AB 442 and what you would like to say has already been said, please just state your name and say ditto. AVH, if we can go to the phone lines.
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 442, please press *9 or raise hand on your Zoom window to take your place in the queue.
Hello, this is Peter Guzman, President of the Latin Chamber of Commerce. I commend those who brought this forward. This is so important to the nonprofit organizations to continue the great work that they are doing. I think this is such a critical bill, and I, again, commend everyone who brought this forward, and I am in full support, as is the Latin Chamber of Commerce, of this bill. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. This is Dora Martinez representing the Nevada Disability Action Coalition. I want to take the opportunity to thank Assemblymember Watts and Miles Dixon and all the co-presenters for this important bill. As a blind individual, I have used some of the nonprofit that has spoke before, and I ride the bus a lot, and I approach people when I hear the conversation needing assistance, and so I connect them. And I apologize if I use somebody's Netflix account because I heard that thing and I get bored and I miss that you drop in conversation. But thank you so much for all that you guys do. Have a good day.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. Bree Schmidt with Silver State Equality, statewide LGBTQ+ civil rights nonprofit. Ditto to everybody else. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Carissa Pierce, CarissAPearce, and I am the Government Affairs Manager with Children's Advocacy Alliance. We are in full support of this bill, and I would just say ditto to everyone who has given testimony. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Emily Barney, for the record, EMILYBARNEY, and I'm here representing the Doula Co-op of Nevada, a emerging nonprofit in the state, and ditto, everything that my nonprofit colleagues have said in this testimony. This is an incredibly important bill, and I am in strong support of AB 442. Thank you. You are unmuted.
Good morning, Chair Considine, members of the committee. This is Leslie Pittman. I'm calling in support of AB 442 on behalf of the Domestic Violence Resource Center in Northern Nevada. And in the interest of time, I'll say ditto to what the others in support of testimony have said. Thank you. Have a good day.
Good morning, committee. My name is Trevor Macaluso, Macaluso. I'm the CEO of the Eddie House in Reno. We are a nonprofit serving homeless and at-risk youth throughout Northern Nevada. I would just echo what a lot of my colleagues around the state have said. We have also experienced, payments owed that have exceeded a time 6 months, and unfortunately, that cash reserves that we've had to, spend on that is funding that we could have used to expand services and operations in other ways to achieve our mission and vision as an organization. So we would register full support of this bill. Thank you.
Caller with the last three digits 784, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the community. I just want to say my name is Brian Begay. I am a lived experience consultant with Southern Nevada Lived X. I just want to ditto everything that my other nonprofit colleagues had said earlier in their testimonies. I am in strong support for AB 442. I want to thank the sponsors of this bill, and I want to thank you for your time and consideration and looking into this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sean O'Donnell, Executive Director of the Foundation for Recovery. We're a public charity that has been providing no-cost recovery support, transportation assistance, and housing programs for Nevadans impacted by substance use disorder and overdose for 20 years. We are in strong support of AB 442, and I would just like to say ditto to all the previous testimonies of support. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. I'm here today. My name is Annette Magnus, and I'm here today for my client, the Asian Community Development Council. I'm here to support AB 442. This bill is critical, and I would like to say ditto to the rest of our colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We have no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you so much. We were ready over time, but if the two folks still here in Carson City wanted to say something quickly and get on the record, go ahead.
Marco Rauda, MARCO-RAUDA, representing Jobs for American Graduates and Green Our Planet. And we just want to thank the chair, the sponsors, and the co-sponsors and the committee for bringing this bill forward. I want to thank United Way and the Nevada Grant Lab for allowing me to work on this bill as well. Thank you.
Good morning, Maureen Heath for the record. I'm Assemblymember Watts' intern and a student at UNR, but I'm just speaking on my own behalf. My father was diagnosed with early onset dementia, and we've used nonprofits for a lot of resources, and so I'm in strong support for this bill.
Thank you. And now we will move on to testimony in opposition. I will, if opposition goes longer than the 20 minutes, I will put this time on that we've gone over in support. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 442? Seeing no one, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 442? Seeing no one there, AVH, is there anyone on the lines wishing to testify in opposition to AB 442?
If you would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 442, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Katrin Ivanov, Katrin Frank. I like most of the bill. However, the rule says that if there is something you don't agree with, you have to testify in opposition. I applaud all the work the nonprofits are doing. What I disagree in the bill is the penalties, because the penalties, they're going to be paid again by the taxpayers. I don't mind penalties, but the penalties should be attached to the people that are not doing the appropriate job, or that they're slowing things down. When penalties are not attached to the person is not have any incentives to do any better. When we, the taxpayers, are going to pay the penalties, what incentive is that to the person to do any faster job? That's the only thing I disagree with that bill. And I hope that you figure out a way to actually penalize the person. If it's not money, maybe demotion or something that it goes through, something that is attached to the person. If they're in jeopardy of losing their job, if they misbehave or don't do their job on time, take too many coffee breaks, whatever the case is. But if you really want it to work, the penalty should be attached to the person that is doing the job, not to the taxpayers. And thank you for everything all these nonprofits are doing, and all the other nonprofits around town and the state and the country. And thank you for trying to make it better for the nonprofits. Have a lovely day.
Chair, we have no additional callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will now move on to testimony in the neutral position. Is there anyone here on Assembly Bill 442 wishing to testify in neutral in Carson City? Go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning. Wendy Madsen with Healthy Communities Coalition. We are a certified substance use nonprofit, doing business for 30 years, serving your rural Lyon and Story counties, located about 10 miles east of where we sit today. Healthy Communities, along with a lot of our other coalitions, not only provide vital services to our communities, but many of us also serve as an umbrella for smaller nonprofits. And given the current federal instability and delay in reimbursements, we can't guarantee this continued level of support. I ditto everything that's been said about the challenges, and we've all felt it significantly. I'd also like to share that the delay in contracts and reimbursements, of course, means delay in these vital services to our community members, but also it creates the real risk of returning these valuable unspent funds due to these delays. So thank you.
Seeing no one else here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral on AB 442? Seeing no one approach AVH, is there anyone on the line on AB 442?
If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 442, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you. If the presenters would like to make our final remarks, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Howard Watts for the record. I'll keep this very brief. I appreciate your time and consideration today. I think you heard in the testimony the passion that comes through, and that is directly aligned with the surveys and other work that's been done that shows that this is a top priority for the nonprofit community. I will say also, it is true, I did through hike the Tahoe Rim Trail in 2019. And, you know, one other thing I want to say is I just really want to thank our state agencies and our state employees. I know that they are working diligently. They want these grants to work. They want these services to be provided. They want to have these partnerships. And so while you have heard some frustrations, I just want to say that in part that is because we are trying to modernize aging systems, and state agencies are committed to doing that. They have been excellent partners providing feedback to us on this bill, and we will continue to work with them to reach a solid policy that allows both the state and nonprofit providers to better meet the needs of our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and I will now close the hearing on AB 442, and we will take a 5-minute recess. All right, thank you. We are coming back from recess. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 180, which revises provisions relating to local governments. To present this measure, we have Assemblymember De Silva, and please go ahead when you're ready.
I think we can. Christine, can we bring it up here? I have it. There is one here.
Okay, I can just have the lawmakers look at it on there.
Okay, so here. Is this the
Yeah,
one?
that's the
you-
one,
Yeah, okay. We're good. Open it up there. There you go.
Okay, I'll bring it here. I can just,
Yeah, with the arrows.
okay, got it. Ruben De Silva for the record. Good morning, everybody. Again, I'm so sorry I'm running back and forth. I got two really big bills here. And the chair from Judiciary called me down to make some closing comments, which she felt were really important. So again, I'm so sorry, everybody, but we're back in business. We're back in business. Yes, good morning, Chair Constantine, the It said I had a very good friend named Constantine, so it's always stuck in my head, whenever I.
We've all made some small verbal gaffes
Yes.
today. It's just Friday.
Good morning. Yeah, I'm working hard because I had a really good friend, with the exact same name, spelled just pronounced differently. But I'm there. Chair Nguyen, the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs. For the record, my name is Ruben De Silva, and I represent Assembly District 28 in East Las Vegas. I'm here today to present Assembly Bill 180, a bill that revises provisions relating to local governments. My co-presenters today are with me in person, Ms. Kelly Kelly, who serves as the Agriculture and Food Systems Business Advisor for the Nevada Small Business Development Center, and virtually from Las Vegas, Tony Ramirez and Noé Orozco with Make the Road Nevada. Before we begin, I want to pass it over to my co-presenters in Southern Nevada to explain the amendment.
Good morning. Thank you, Assemblyman De Silva, and good morning, Chair Considine. For the record, my name is Noé Orozco. That's spelled N-O-E, accent over the E, O-R-O-S-C-O, and I'm the Government Affairs Manager with Make the Road Nevada. And just really quickly, I wanted to just talk about some of the amendments before we go ahead and get started, because the bill that you currently have before you, it is going to have a couple of changes, and so I just wanted to see if we could do that beforehand. One moment. So early on, we were able to have some conversations with a couple of stakeholders, and we did receive some feedback from them. And so we have reflected some of that feedback in the amendments. First and foremost, we do have Washoe County being removed. So essentially the population, rather than going from 100,000 or more, it's going to 700,000. And that is just having, we're doing that because Reno, as part of their local regulations, they've already made the decision to incorporate merchandise into their street vendors. And then specifically sections 2, 3, 14, 13, and 22. Currently, they classify personal information related to business licenses as confidential and are not subject to public records. In the conversations that we had, no other industries would have been afforded the same. So we are removing those provisions to ensure that no single sector is disproportionately affected. And then in terms of regarding the distance requirements to the parks, the original bill prevented cities and counties from imposing any restrictions on sidewalk vendors that would be selling in or adjacent to parks. However, to address some of these concerns, we are removing these provisions, which would revert back to the cities and the counties, allowing them to be able to regulate that through their regulation process, just as they currently are doing with the provisions of SB 92. The amendments also include 2 additional types of inherently mobile businesses, and that would be the individuals who have or hold a cottage license cottage foods license, as well as farmers that hold a producer certificate with the Nevada Department of Agriculture. And for those two specific things that we are adding, our co-presenter, Ms. Kelly, is going to be able to more eloquently expand on these two industries. And then the modification of the goods and merchandises is intended to ensure that we encompass the range of non-food items that our members sell. Some of the stakeholders have referenced counterfeit merchandise, and we provided them with a comprehensive list of all of the items that our members sell, and we had asked them to provide input on whether any of those specific merchandise items raised concerns. And we haven't received any feedback in terms of any specific items that they wanted to further have a conversations or dialogue about. So we're pretty much moving forward with that, just because there was nothing that was provided back to Tony and myself. And then the very last thing is that the bill is defining mobile unit to incorporate the food trucks and other mobile food vendors, which often serve a variety of foods and beverages to the customers on the go. And so that's why we just wanted to make sure that within the mobile unit, we didn't inadvertently leave out food trucks. So that is essentially the amendments right now, and be happy to turn that back over to Assemblymember De Silva.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Orozco, for that explanation of the amendment. As you can see, it is addressing several different issues, and it is there, I believe, in the exhibit list in front of you all today, committee members. So I will begin with explaining the background on this bill. All Southern Nevada jurisdictions have their own process for mobile food vendors or food trucks. However, they are all similar in their licensing processes. Using the City of Las Vegas's general information, here you can see the steps summarized for becoming licensed. The vehicle must be approved by the City of Las Vegas Fire Prevention Division. There must be a commissary agreement set up. There must be health permitting done. Insurance certificates identifying the City of Las Vegas as an additional insured needs to be expressed. Photos of the vehicle trailer need to be provided. You must have a Nevada DMV registration and a Nevada driver's license. The cost associated with licensing includes a $50 initial processing fee, initial gross licensing fee of $100, and a semi-annual gross revenue fee. An issue food trucks have in my district and in many of yours is that this process must be repeated in every jurisdiction if a mobile food business wants to operate in a different jurisdiction. This, I'm told, is a major deterrent to business growth. Chef Stu, who couldn't be here today, is a food truck owner who initially operated in Las Vegas but encountered significant challenges in securing a location for his business. He ultimately found a location in Henderson, but the transition was not seamless. Relocating meant he had to navigate the entire licensing and permitting process from scratch. This unnecessary setback took several weeks to complete, causing unexpected delays in launching his operations and slowing the overall growth of his business. Currently, multi-jurisdictional licensing in Southern Nevada is only allowed for contractors. This allows contractors to operate across multiple municipalities without needing to obtain separate licenses for each jurisdiction. As part of the application process, contractors are required to check the appropriate box indicating the specific municipality they intend to work in. The goal of the bill is to create multi-jurisdictional business licensing for 4 business models: food trucks, mobile food units, sidewalk vendors, cottage food license holders, and those who have a producer's certificate from the Nevada Department of Agriculture. One of the key components of the bill is to address the unique challenges faced by these business types. Food truck operators and sidewalk vendors, for example, frequently move between different municipalities. Similarly, cottage food license holders who produce homemade goods such as baked items, jams, and confections would benefit from a more streamlined process, enabling them to sell their products in various locations without unnecessary obstacles. Additionally, farmers would gain greater flexibility to sell their goods at multiple farmers markets. Lastly, the bill adds merchandise to the definition of sidewalk vendors. Because of this, as this committee may know, only food vendors are currently included in this definition. Currently, there are 244 mobile units registered in Nevada, and this bill would provide critical support to these businesses, helping them expand and operate more efficiently. A challenge under the current system is that food truck owners cannot freely choose a commissary outside the jurisdiction in which they are licensed to operate. This is also harmful to the commissary, which provide essential services such as food storage, preparation space, and sanitation facilities. During the interim, I had the opportunity to tour Trujillo Commissary, a facility that currently serves approximately 20 food trucks. This is a commissary in my district, in the Nellis and Lake Mead area. Through discussions with the owners and operators, it became clear that one of the biggest challenges they face in the restrictions on serving food trucks that operate outside of Las Vegas, despite all jurisdictions being under Southern Nevada Health District, SNHD, having the infrastructure and resource to accommodate more clients, their growth is hindered by jurisdictional licensing constraints that prevent them from working with food truck operators in neighboring cities or Clark County. By implementing a multi-jurisdictional licensing system, this bill would allow food truck owners to choose the commissary that best fits their needs, regardless of municipal boundaries. In turn, this would also support commissaries, enabling them to expand their services, increase revenue, and operate in a more streamlined manner. As of now, there are approximately a dozen vendors who have gone through the licensing process, and these are the ones who would be eligible under the provisions of this bill. Currently, a vendor cannot be licensed without first meeting the requirements of the Southern Nevada Health District. These are vendors who are subjected to inspections like other permitted food businesses. A significant challenge facing sidewalk vendors in Southern Nevada is the restrictive policies imposed by local jurisdictions, particularly regarding vending in parks and other public spaces. These limitations have acted as a deterrent, discouraging many aspiring vendors from even attempting to go through the licensing process. Allowing more freedom among Southern Nevada would continue to contribute to their business growth to ensure they remained licensed. The addition to AB 180 will include cottage food license holders. These are small business owners who produce homemade food products at home or small kitchens, which are made fresh and in small batches to sell online or farmers markets. They are limited to the farmers markets in their jurisdiction where they are licensed. If they wish to participate in a market in another city, they must go through an entirely new licensing process for desired jurisdiction. By incorporating cottage food license holders into AB 180, the bill allows these small business owners to sell their products more freely across Southern Nevada. The addition to AB 180 will also include a producer certificate holder, which is issued by the Department of Agriculture. These certificate holders are farmers and agricultural producers who cultivate and sell fresh, locally grown products such as fruits, vegetables, herbs, honey, and other farm goods. Currently, there are 136 producer certificate holders in Clark County, many of whom rely on selling their products at farmers markets and direct-to-consumer venues. By streamlining the regulatory process, the bill would enable these farmers and agricultural producers to reach a wider customer base and strengthen Nevada's local food system. This change would not only benefit farmers, but also enhance consumer access to fresh, locally sourced food. AB 180 will expand the definition of a sidewalk vendor to include the sale of merchandise. In addition to food, SB 92 from last year only includes food vendors. By broadening this definition, the bill would allow vendors to legally sell non-food items such as clothing, accessories, artwork, handcrafted goods, and other retail merchandise. Here you see Maria Munoz with her cart showing her product, which is wholesale or homemade items, none of which is counterfeit, by the way, along with 5 vendors who are interested in going through the licensing process and the types of products that they sell. And here you can see the sort of a clientele essentially that this bill is looking to support, and the sort of merchandise that they're looking to now sell. So in closing, AB 180 aims to modernize and streamline business licensing in Southern Nevada, making it easier for mobile food vendors, sidewalk vendors, cottage food producers, and agricultural businesses to operate across multiple jurisdictions. By implementing a multi-jurisdictional licensing system, the bill would eliminate redundant application processes and support small business growth. This change would allow food trucks to freely choose commissaries, enable cottage food producers and farmers to sell in multiple markets without unnecessary restrictions. These reforms are crucial for strengthening Nevada's small business ecosystem, increasing economic opportunity, and ensuring that vendors remain compliant with health and safety regulations. AB 180 will empower local entrepreneurs, support economic development, and enhance consumer access to fresh, local, and handmade products. And with that, committee, we stand ready to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So was that the end of your presentation? Because I might erroneously have another. Sorry. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. We will go to questions, and we will begin with Assemblymember Jackson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. So I'm concerned with the merch part of the bill and how it's regulated because merchandise can be a vary of many items. I could simply hand you something that could be considered merchandise. My fears is that it may become criminalized. So my question is, what would be the fine or penalty for those who do not have the merchant's license?
Ruben De Silva for the record. Thank you, Assemblymember Jackson, for that that important question. I know it's come up a lot during the negotiations along this bill. Can I kick that down to Mr. Ramirez in Las Vegas for a more clarifying answer?
Yeah, thank you, Assemblymember Jackson. So I appreciate the question. So currently, the folks that you saw in the presentation don't have a process for themselves. And I believe the penalty for doing business without a business license comes with a fine and potential jail time of up to 6 months. So that's the process that we want to avoid that currently exists for merchandise vendors. Maria Munoz, who you saw in the presentation, received a fine of $310, and she makes approximately $400 a month. So we want to legitimize her business so she avoids some of those interactions that you're concerned about.
Can you please state your name for the record?
Tony Ramirez.
And also Ruben De Silva for the record, and also to build on that, we again, when we had the meetings with the community along the along the lines of this conversation about street vending and merchandise in particular, we were able to notice again that most of these entrepreneurs, wanted to become legitimate. They wanted some kind of a process where now they had a legitimate process to which they could get a license. And we also saw that the incomes that they were making were relatively low. We're averaging about $400 a month. Again, you can't live off of $400 a month. What we know is that these businesses are side businesses that help augment income into the household. So again, if you find for $310, that's pretty much like 85% of what you've made in that 1 month. So this is again one of the crucialities that we took into consideration when we brought about this legislation to address that specific need. And again, that's a very good question there, Assemblymember Jackson. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Gallant.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for bringing this bill forward, but I do have a question in terms of, so contractors right now are able to get a multi-jurisdictional license. They're the only ones. But we have plenty of fields where, I mean, particularly in Clark County, where we have Henderson and North Las Vegas and Clark County, and all of these municipalities have their own, business licenses, and it's kind of erroneous on a lot of different industries. And so I'm curious why you chose just for the food vendors instead of maybe just looking at it holistically and trying to ensure that the municipalities do this for all industry. Because in my head, I imagine, are we going to do a bill for each individual licensing? I mean, that NRS statute is just going to be miles and miles long. So I'm curious why you chose to do it this way instead of like kind of a broad sweeping so that we could offer this same multi-jurisdictional licensing to everyone.
Ruben De Silva for the record. Assemblymember Gallant, that is an excellent question. And again, I've said this in front of this committee many times before, that the bills that I take on are brought to me by my constituents. I have a lot of town halls. I meet with them on a almost on a daily basis, when it comes to the ideation portion. And this is something that was brought to me. I have many food truck vendors and street vendors who live in my district who said that we just want to become legitimate. And when it comes to mobile businesses in general, that was the industry that came to me and had this conversation. Was the food truck industry, and Make the Road has been doing a lot of work on this for years now. So I do agree with you that I think that in any business that's inherently mobile, should be, we should look at, working on NRS to allow them to be mobile and to actually have those red tape removed. But we, approach this in a piecemeal sort of way and, identified food trucks as, being a business that is, bottom line, it's a truck. It moves around, and these jurisdictions are very close to one another. My district itself, I have North Las Vegas, I have Las Vegas, and I have unincorporated Clark County that just has compartmentalized my district. So it's very easy to jump from one district jurisdiction to another, and then all of a sudden be in violation of the law or have a licensing issue. So that's the industry that came to me. But I do agree with you. I think that we should look at opening this up to other industries and other businesses as well. Maybe. I don't know if Mr. Ramirez or Mr. Orozco had anything to add to this statement.
Yes, Tony Ramirez, for the record. We looked at sidewalk vendors specifically because their costs are extremely high to start up, as you saw in the presentation, $2,000 potentially just to start up, and then a card is expensive as well. And our concern was how long will they be able to stay licensed if they're not able to freely move around in a way that grows their income. So that's why we looked at them. And food trucks as well are dealing with a lot of issues. I'll let my co-presenter from Ibarra's Food Trucks here add to that if there's questions around that, but they are also dealing with a lot of issues that are impacting their incomes as well.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Aspects of it I get, and I guess in some ways I like for producers with the certificate holders for the Department of Agriculture because of the ability it would give them to go to different farmers markets, from what I understood in the presentation, and to be able to do their business. Even with the cottage food license holders also sound like people who are at home with a small business and then trying to go out in different spaces and sell their wares. And if they have the multi-jurisdictional licensing, it will make it easier to do it. I even kind of get the self-contained food trucks. But I guess what I'm wondering is how this works across the counties and the cities with specifically the sidewalk vendors and the zoning, the setup, the locations, the spacing, because it's very different when you come to a sidewalk vendor. They're almost an island unto themselves because they feel very different from the other categories that you have listed in the legislation. So can you maybe talk about how you see the cities actually achieving this in the zone?
Assemblymember Flanagan and Chair Considine, Kelly for the record. First, I appreciate you identifying and talking about cottage food license holders and Nevada agricultural producers. I'd just like to get on the record that at any given time during the season in Las Vegas and Clark County, there are between 20 and 25 farmers markets that operate in virtually every municipality. Cottage food license holders are currently required by statute to sell their products direct to consumer in-person sales and are limited to $35,000 in gross sales. And so, for a cottage food vendor who is interested in selling at farmers markets, that's one of the main places they sell. In order to go to those different locations, they end up in a licensure rabbit hole. So just wanted to thank you for that question or that observation and get that on the record before turning it over to Assemblymember De Silva to talk about sidewalk vendors.
Ruben De Silva for the record, and I would like Mr. Ramirez to extrapolate on this this question. It's a very good one. The main issue that we were dealing with when it came to the sidewalk vendors was that they were not oftentimes knowing the boundaries of these jurisdictions. Even myself, I get lost, because you have these side steps, you have these staircasing. So the real issue was, can we just get one license that would allow you to operate in Clark County, the whole county, so you're not worried about the red tape of having to, first and foremost, know these different boundaries. And then also secondly, so if you want to operate in multiple jurisdictions, you have to go through this process over and over and over again, keep up with the local mandates, the local laws, the ever-changing landscape, of the regulatory process. So, having a one-stop shop is the most important aspect, I believe, of this legislation. And we're also talking about individuals now. I mean, let's be honest. Immigrant communities who are already having a tremendous sort of a challenge navigating this new terrain, this new land, this new country, this new language that they're in, who are trying to make a living. So one of the key ways that we saw of addressing issues that they're faced with, but also just anybody in general who has a mobile business, is this issue of having to work with different jurisdictions when it comes to licensing. So having a one-stop shop would actually mitigate a great deal of those worries and those issues, and would actually create a more streamlined business environment, we believe, for businesses, especially businesses that are mobile, such as the street vendors and our food trucks. Tony, would you like to again explain a little bit more in detail about the specific issues of street vendors vis-a-vis the sidewalk licensing?
Thank you, Assemblymember De Silva. This is Noe Orozco for the record. Go ahead and try to answer this one. So, Assemblymember Flanagan, it's an excellent question that you bring up in terms of specifically with regards to the sidewalk vendors. Last session, SB 92 is what ended up setting up that framework. So in terms of the cities and the counties, they already should have that process for how sidewalk vendors would be able to operate. All that AB 180 is trying to do is incorporate the merchandise vendors. So whatever that process is already, it would just expand it from food vendors to also merchandise vendors. And to Assemblymember De Silva's point, it's really just trying to ensure that there's that one place that these individuals that are trying to operate in multiple municipalities, they would be able to just go to this one place to be able to fill out the application and then be able to operate in any of those jurisdictions that they would like.
Madam Chair, may I have a follow-up? So just make sure I'm clear based on Mr. Orozco's, just say it correctly, testimony just now. I understand that sidewalk vendors exist at this time, but per this legislation, this is to give them, as well as the other three categories, multi-jurisdictional operation rights, correct? Am I not understanding that? Because
That's correct, Assemblymember.
okay, so then my question still stands to make sure I understand how the different entities would organize sidewalk vendors. So it would still have to be set up to figure out how that really works, so that there's I'm sorry, because what the county does isn't necessarily what a city does, what a sidewalk vendor. So what one allows isn't what the other one allows. So they still have to get together, and believe me, those permitting processes are exhaustive. Because I've shepherded some before, and they still have to get together and figure out who's allowing what, where you can be, what the hours are, if the fees line up, are the fees different from one to the next? How they disperse the fees across the different jurisdictions. Does the county take so much? Does the city take so much? So I just want to make sure I'm clear that this would still be to include them in a multi-jurisdictional consideration. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Assemblymember. In order to take the first crack at this, because you're going to hear multiple perspectives on this very question. You hear from the locals, you hear from the business community. But I wanted to allow during this presentation itself, Tony Ramirez to give the perspective of Make the Road specifically on that question of yours. So, Mr. Ramirez.
Yeah, so also just to clarify, Tony Ramirez, just to clarify, currently merchandise vendors are not included in the cell, the way that they operate. There are folks who can operate door-to-door sales, et cetera, but the way that the folks that we represent operate, that process doesn't exist. And then the intention is to, have everyone together and create a system similar to contractors, if that's what they see works best. We're not putting any restrictions on how they would approach that process. We just want that process to exist for these four entities as well.
And Ruben De Silva for the record. And again, it's also, I think, one of, my own sort of like perspectives, a vision really, where we can, create now a new policy that's going to be, created through the partnership of the local jurisdictions, coming together and creating some kind of a regulatory process that's going to be uniform across the board. Again, the main sort of like impetus, the main sort of goal here is to create a multi-jurisdictional license that's going to allow free flow between the jurisdictions. And inherently, a part of that will be the creation of new policies and regulations that'll help with that process. And it's my hope that does happen.
And our last question is from Assemblymember Jackson.
Thank you, Chair. My question is pertaining to merch licensing and outreach. Would this bill impact those collecting donations for nonprofit purposes?
As the bill is written, there's no language there pertaining to donations or nonprofit. This is strictly looking at folks who are working in an entrepreneurial setting. Ruben De Silva for the record. Sorry about that. Who are looking to start a business. We're looking at businesses that are operating along the perimeters of SB 92 sidewalk sort of economic understanding. That sort of culture, and also for inherently mobile businesses that are moving about between different jurisdictions. So as written, I personally don't see, and again, we probably want to get some more eyes on that either. That if you're collecting donations or anything like that, that's outside of the actual scope and the parameters of this particular bill.
Seeing no other questions from the committee, we will move on to testimony. Thank you for the presentation. Again, testimony can be provided in person in Carson City via video conference in Las Vegas or over the phone. Further instructions for providing testimony on a bill can be found on the agenda. And again, we will be maintaining a 20-minute time limit for the periods of support, opposition, and neutral testimony, with each speaker having no more than 2 minutes. As a reminder, support means that you approve the measure as written or along with any proposed amendments that have been accepted by the sponsor. Opposition means you do not approve of the measure as written, including if you wish to propose amendments that have not been approved by the sponsor. And neutral means you're offering insight on the measure but expressing no position. I would like to begin in Carson City with testimony in support of AB 180. Please come to the table and begin when you are ready.
Chair, members of the committee, for the record, I'm Doug Busselman. I'm the Executive Vice President of Nevada Farm Bureau. We are here today to speak in favor of the amendment, specifically dealing with cottage license holder and also producer certificate holders that have those certificates from the Department of Agriculture. Though that amendment is something that we are very favorable for and would encourage you to incorporate into the bill as it goes forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to provide testimony in support of Assembly Bill 180? Seeing no one approach, we will move to Las Vegas. We already have some people at the table, so please begin when you are ready for support on AB 180.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Ronald Najarro, Najarro, and I'm the State Director for Americans for Prosperity Nevada. And on behalf of my organization, I thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of AB 180, a bill that will provide substantial regulatory relief for entrepreneurs in our state by mandating that large counties and municipalities create a seamless licensing regime that will allow vendors to sell in various locations without having to apply for and pay for multiple licenses. Will help access more economic opportunity while also ensuring that compliance with licensing is easily achieved. AFP Nevada believes that now is a time for our elected officials to come together and address these challenges with sound solutions like AB 170 licensing reform achieves, so that we can together build a Nevada that empowers every individual to reach their full potential. With less burdensome regulations, both entrepreneurs running businesses and workers trying to earn a living for their families will be able to chase opportunity instead of permission. AB 180 creates a one-stop process to secure licensing in their pursuit to earn income as a sidewalk or mobile vendor across the state. AFP Nevada applauds the bill sponsor, Assemblyperson Ruben De Silva, for bringing this bill forward, and we urge you to please support AB 180, a transformative first step that will no doubt help entrepreneurs in the pursuit of their American dream secure a more robust license with more economic opportunities that will improve the lives of families in our communities. Thank you.
Good morning, Eddie Diaz, E-D-D-I-E-D-I-A-Z. Chairperson, esteemed members of the committee, my name is Eddie Diaz. I am the Strategic Director for the Libre Initiative Nevada, one of the largest Latino organizations dedicated to empowering the Hispanic community in Nevada and across the nation. On behalf of the Libre Initiative, I'm here to express my strong support for AB 180, a much-needed piece of legislation that has the power to remove unnecessary barriers for hardworking Nevadans, especially those in the Latino community, who are pursuing their dream through small business ownership. Latinos represent a growing share of small business owners in Nevada, many of whom operate as mobile food vendors, street vendors, or independent contractors. For many Latinos, street vending is more than a job. It's a first step toward economic independence and upward mobility. However, the current patchwork of local regulations and licensing requirements can make it extremely difficult and expensive for these entrepreneurs to legally operate across different cities or counties. This creates confusion, delays, and financial burdens for people who are simply trying to provide for their families and contribute to their communities. AB 180 will streamline the licensing process, helping reduce red tape and costs for small-scale vendors, many of whom are immigrants or first-generation business owners. This bill lowers the barrier to entry for those who may not have traditional access to capital or resources, giving them a fair shot to grow and succeed. This legislation sends a clear message that Nevada values and supports those who hustle, innovate, and serve their communities. It helps people rise up the economic ladder by allowing them to formalize and grow their businesses without being penalized by outdated or inconsistent regulations. In short, this bill will empower entrepreneurs and reinforce Nevada's reputation as a place where small businesses can thrive. I respectfully urge this committee to vote in favor of AB 180. Thank you.
Buenos días, miembros del comité. Soy Cristina Arroyo, mi esposo Sergio Galván, orgullosos miembros de Se Hace el Camino Nevada y dueños de Taquería El Pastorcito.
Hello, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Hernan Alvarez Sanchez, HERNANALVAREZ I'm the Deputy Director, Organizing Director for Make the Road Nevada. I will be serving as a translator for our members, and so I will be translating our members' remarks here. Good morning, members of the committee. We are Cristina Arroyo and Sergio Galvan, proud members of Make the Road Nevada and owners of Taquería El Pastorcito.
Contamos con 2 camiones de comida y un restaurante. Recientemente, nuestros camiones, para mejorar el servicio y cumplir con todos los requisitos, remodelamos nuestros camiones y a pesar de estar en regla, nos obligaron a cerrar un mes.
Recently, we remodeled our food trucks to improve our service and meet all requirements. However, even though we are in full compliance, we were forced to redo all the paperwork from scratch. This process caused us to lose almost a month of work due to excessive paperwork and the fact that everything is done by appointment only.
Sí, cerramos por el motivo de hacer el trámite nuevamente desde cero. Este proceso nos hizo perder un mes de trabajo y debido a la cantidad de papeleo y a que a todo se hace por cita.
I got ahead of myself.
Todo eso solo lo hacíamos por cita y la pérdida nos costó aproximadamente entre 8 a 10 mil de ingresos.
This process caused us to lose almost a month of work due to excessive paperwork and the fact that everything is done by appointment only. The loss cost us approximately $8,000 to $10,000 in revenue.
Nosotros siempre hemos cumplido con lo que se nos pide, pero los trámites y procesos son complicados, sigue siendo un obstáculo que retrasa nuestro crecimiento.
We have always followed the rules, but the paperwork and complicated processes continue to be an obstacle that slows down our growth.
Por eso apoyamos el proyecto de ley AB 180. Esta ley nos permitiría expandir nuestro negocio a diferentes áreas de la ciudad sin tener que repetir los mismos procesos una y otra vez.
That is why we support AB 180. This bill would allow us to expand our business into different areas of the city without having to repeat the same steps over and over again.
Eso nos abriría nuevas oportunidades y nos permitiría contratar a más trabajadores en nuestra comunidad.
It would open up new opportunities and allow us to hire more workers in our community.
AB 180 no solo apoya a los pequeños empresarios, también ayuda a fortalecer la economía local y a generar empleo.
AB 180 doesn't just support small business owners, but it also helps strengthen the local economy and create jobs.
Pedimos a nuestros representantes que aprueben esta ley y escuchen a quienes todos los días luchamos día a día para salir adelante. Gracias.
We urge our representatives to pass this bill and listen to those of us who fight every day to get ahead. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Samantha Silcox, and I am representing Ibarra's Food Truck Builders, Ibarra's Rent a Food Truck, Ibarra's Commissary, and Street Tacos, which is a mobile food trailer located in Fremont Street. This is specifically regarding the multi-jurisdictional business license for mobile food vendors, mobile food trailers, and mobile food trucks. As Assemblymember De Silva mentioned earlier, that the licensing process for City of Las Vegas requires certain steps. However, across multiple jurisdictions in Clark County, the application process is different. For example, City of Las Vegas does not require a Metro Police Department background check, whereas unincorporated Clark County and North Las Vegas does. In addition to those background checks, the vendors will then need to pay $1,645, which includes the LLC all the way down to that jurisdictional license, in addition to multiple jurisdictional license applications and business licenses. The limitation of commissaries in Southern Nevada forces vendors to choose commissaries that are available, whereas if a mobile food vendor intends operating only in City of Las Vegas, and the City of Las Vegas does not have any more available commissaries, that then street vendor must go and apply for a commissary in North Las Vegas, apply and obtain a North Las Vegas business license, even though they do not intend on operating in that area or jurisdiction. This inhibits vendors from being able to apply for and attend events and festivals that are outside of that jurisdiction, as application time will vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. In Clark County in Southern Nevada, there is City of Las Vegas, City of Henderson, City of North Las Vegas, and unincorporated Clark County. If a vendor wishes to operate in an event that is outside of the jurisdiction, they will then need to take that time and apply for a new license for that area where the event is going to be held, thus hindering or even stopping them from being able to work at that event. My name is Samantha Silcox, and I am testifying in support of Bill AB 180.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Mariana Miranda, soy orgullosa miembro de Hace Camino Nevada y estoy aquí para expresar mi apoyo a la ley AB 180.
For the record, this is Hernan Alvarez Sanchez translating. Good morning, my name is Mariana Miranda. I am a proud member of Make the Road Nevada, and I am here to express my support for Assembly Bill 180.
Llevo 2 años como vendedora ambulante haciendo flores, playeras, gorras, anillos, pulseras, peluches, globos y chocolates. Este trabajo me permite mantener a mi familia y ser parte activa de mi comunidad.
I've been a street vendor for 2 years, offering flowers, t-shirts, hats, rings, bracelets, stuffed animals, balloons, and chocolates. This work allows me to support my family and be an active part of my community.
He tratado de sacar mi permiso, pero ha sido complicado el proceso y confuso y muy caro. Además, no hay suficiente información en español. La barrera del idioma me hace que muchas de nosotras no sepamos dónde empezar. No nos mandan a lugares y a otros. Al final no logramos avanzar.
I've tried to get a permit, but it has been very complicated. The process is confusing, expensive, and there isn't enough information available in Spanish. The language barrier means that many of us don't even know where to start. We get sent from one office to another, and in the end, we make no progress.
Eso causa mucho estrés. Muchas veces tengo miedo de vender, de que llegue alguien a multarme y quitarme mi mercancía. Sé de compañeros que han recibido multas de hasta $500 y eso es más de lo que ganamos en varios días de trabajo. Yo solo quiero trabajar tranquila, sin esconderme y poder ofrecer mis productos con dignidad.
All of this causes a lot of stress. Many times I'm afraid to go out and sell, worried that someone will find me or take my products. I know other vendors who have received fines up to $500, and that's more than what we make in several days of work. I just want to work peacefully, without hiding, and be able to offer my products with dignity.
AB 180 me dará la oportunidad de tener un permiso claro y accesible que me permitirá enfocarme en mi trabajo y crecer mi negocio y cuidar de mi familia sin miedo. Les pido apoyen AB 180. Es una forma de darnos respeto, estabilidad y paz. Gracias.
AB 180 would give me that chance. Having a clear and accessible permit will allow me to focus on my work, grow my business, and take care of my family without fear. I ask you to support AB 180. It's a way to give us respect, stability, and peace. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chair and Committee. My name is Cecilia Mendez, MENDESD. I'm member and leader the Make the Road. I am the support AB 180. I live in this country for 33 years and I have worked at the street vendor for over 38 years. I be selling for all the occasions like graduation, Mother's Day, Valentine's, gift baskets, flowers, bouquets for all occasion. I love this. If this is work that I love because I connect with my community, but each city requires different license with different rules, form in English and repeat costs. All this may all those time, money, and support. Sometimes the fear is being fines or remove stop for me working peacefully. I don't have this resource for pay fines. I will help support for AB 180 will charge that bill will be allowed to work with single license across the multiple cities, where rules are clear, fair, and as accessible as to support AB 180, so that those who have worked with dignity 2 years or keep moving forward without fears. Thank you so much and have a blessing day.
I'm Leroy Peters from North Las Vegas, and I have been in other countries of the world and ate off the street many times from vendors. And for this to be such a hassle for these people is ludicrous. AD 180 will allow them a way of sharing their culture with us, as they could make meals and sell them as we could buy them off the street from them that we can't get from a restaurant. It was pointed out one time 2 years ago that the problem was health-wise. Let me tell you, if somebody fixes a meal and sells it on the street to me, they don't want to make me sick. They want to make me come back and want to make me share my experience with them and with other people so that they can get more business. So AD 180 will help them and help a citizen like me that's stupid enough, maybe, as you would say, to buy off the street from people that's making a good meal that I can buy. Thank you for your concern. Goodbye.
Thank you. We have used more than 15 minutes of the 20 minutes allocated for support, so I would like to go to the phone lines. If we can come back after the phone lines to Las Vegas, I would request that if anyone still wants to testify in support, that they state their name and ditto so that we can get as many people on the record as possible. But AVH, if we can go to you for the phone lines for support on AB 180.
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 180, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Olivia Tanager, Director of the Sierra Club Toyabe chapter. For the record, I would like to ditto all of the support testimony thus far and emphasize how supportive we are of this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Chandler Cooks, ChandlerCooks, and I'm in support of AB 180. As a business advisor for the Urban Chamber of Commerce, I've worked with hundreds of food operators, from sidewalk vendors to food truck operators, and I've seen how Nevada is the home to a rising generation of entrepreneurs. And they aren't asking for shortcuts, they're asking for a chance to grow their business without hitting a wall every time they cross that jurisdictional line. Right now, a food truck operator in Clark County may be required to pay duplicative licensing fees, navigate multiple applications, and then follow different rules in Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, Henderson, and any other unincorporated areas just to operate a few blocks away. For many small business owners, that's not just inefficient, it's inhibitive. According to a 2022 report by the Institute for Justice, nearly 60% of mobile vendors across the U.S. cite license complexity and inconsistent regulations as their top barrier to growth. And a 2021 Brookings Institute study shows that simplifying local licensing processes can increase micro business formation by 17%, especially in low-income communities. This bill creates a smart, coordinated system that allows vendors and contractors to obtain one license to operate across multiple jurisdictions, provided they meet all the state and local requirements. That's not deregulation, that's regulatory efficiency. And when we create a legal structure that makes room for these businesses to thrive, we're not just boosting the economy, we're investing in community resilience. This removes the unnecessary duplication and the outdated silos that stifle entrepreneurship. So I urge your support for AB 180. Thank you.
Chair, we have no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you. We have a few minutes left. We'll go back to Las Vegas. We'll get through as many testifiers in support as possible, but please consider if your statements have been made to say ditto. And as a reminder, we accept all public or testimony in, you can send that testimony in up to 24 hours after the hearing. Please go ahead in Las Vegas.
Hello, good morning. My name is Faridi Canales, Faridy. I am proud member and leader of Make the Road Nevada, and I am here to support Bill 180. Thank you so much.
Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Marina Serrano, MARINASERRANO, y apoyo la ley AB 180. Gracias.
For the record, Hernan Alvarez Sanchez translating. My name is Marina Serrano, and I support AB 180.
Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Gaudencia Torres, orgullosa miembro de Make the Road Nevada, y vengo a apoyar la ley AB 180.
For the record, Hernan Alvarez Sanchez translating again. Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Gaudencia Torres, and I'm here in support of AB 180.
Hi, my name is Isabel Pastrana. I support AB 180. Thank you.
For the record, Hernan Alvarez Sanchez translating. Good morning, my name is Isabel Pastrana, support of AB 180.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Ortiz. I am a proud member leader of Make the Road Nevada, and I'm here to support AB 180. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could just potentially ask if everyone who is in support with Make the Road Nevada could please just stand up and we can get a count of how many folks are in support in Las Vegas. Okay, that's about the whole room. Thank you. We will notate, and thank you so much for giving this testimony. Is there anyone in Las Vegas in support of AB 180 in Las Vegas that is not part of Make the Road Nevada? If that person can come up, this will be the last testimony we take in support.
Chair,
Sorry,
this individual already gave her
Okay,
testimony.
so just to be clear, everyone in Las Vegas has either testified or they are in support of 180, and they are with Make the Road Nevada.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Then we thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for providing testimony. And please remember, you can send in testimony up to 24 hours after the hearing. And we will now move on to opposition to Assembly Bill 180. We will begin in Carson City. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Mike Cathcart, representing the city of Henderson. I first want to thank Assemblymember De Silva for being so gracious with his time and hearing our concerns on this legislation. He has been very great to work with. He was always open, his door's always open for us to come in and discuss this bill. The city is opposed to AB 180 as drafted and amended by the conceptual amendment, in particular sections 2 and 3 and 13 and 14, which are in regard to the multi-jurisdictional licensing and create a mandate for certain businesses to be made into multi-jurisdictional licenses. I can tell you that we are well on our way towards making multi-jurisdictional sidewalk vendor licenses a reality, and the sidewalk vendor program should be in place before the end of the legislative session. This is something we started last fall. The cities of Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, Henderson, as well as Clark County, we all committed to the sidewalk vendor task force that was created from SB 92 last session. We all worked together on our ordinances, and we all committed to that task force that was run by the Secretary of State's office. We all committed that multi-jurisdictional licensing would happen for the sidewalk vendor program. Currently, as far as numbers are concerned, you heard about us having contractors as a multi-jurisdictional license type. We do, and that is well over 5,000 contractors are multi-jurisdictional. Currently, on the sidewalk vendor front, we have less than 10 across the entire Las Vegas Valley. But we committed, all 4 jurisdictions committed. We are moving forward with this program. As far as the food trucks, which were also brought up, we've all finally come to an agreement, the 4 entities in Southern Nevada, on how to move forward on food trucks. The issue with mobile food vendors is that we all have some legacy ordinances in place that require background checks. So it's a background check process. It is a privilege license with our organization. In Henderson it is. Las Vegas has since in the last 24 months moved forward and taken that piece, the privilege license piece away. All 4 entities in Southern Nevada have committed to doing that, and what we're going to do is split our license type between mobile food vendors and not require a background check anymore. Those are the food trucks that sell burgers or tacos or pizza. Those are for adults. We're all going to create a novelty food vendor category that is the stuff that is directed at children. That's what most of our mobile food vendor ordinances were originally created to handle, and over many years, it had become the mobile food vendor, food truck industry that you see today.
I just had a question. We had something that was sent in as an attachment. I thought there was one slide you wanted to present, and I know you wanted to wrap up.
Yeah, I don't need to present the slide. I just want to talk, I can talk about the attachment that we put as an exhibit on now.
We are on the 20-minute time limit for opposition, so if you could do that quickly, because we're
I'll
already
do it
at
really
3.
quick. In the last 18 months, the local governments, which we've always worked together on multi-jurisdictional licensing, We have a very solid plan on where we're going to be going over the next 2 years as far as multi-jurisdictional licensing is concerned. But the great thing over the last 18 months is the Secretary of State's office has hired a consulting group called Gartner Group. They have been out meeting with all of the local governments. There are Secretary of State management folks on our committee as well. So we, as a statewide business licensing group for the first time, and I've been in this area for almost 15 years, this is the best cooperation we've ever had across the state on how to move us forward as a state and be the national leader on ease of getting a license so that we can attract business here from the state level down to the county and city levels. That is our goal. That's what we're working towards. And the document that I put up on Nellis shows the progress we're making on that. And we do not want to be diverted from that commitment. The multi-jurisdictional licensing types are in that document. We have committed to the statewide group that we will continue doing those things and moving forward and adding more industries to the multi-jurisdictional. So we want to keep on the path that we're on and not be diverted by AB 180. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Considine and members of the Government Affairs Committee. This is Joanna Jacob, JACOB, on behalf of Clark County. I want to concur with the comments of my colleague, Mike Cathcart from the City of Henderson on the multi-jurisdictional license piece. I will say our business license departments have every successive session had to have these mandates put upon them. It takes away from the work that they are doing. Every time we need to go back and stop that work and try and work in new legislation that comes, respectfully. Following up, our issues very specifically are on enforcement. Under the terms of the bill and the amendment, there is no definition of merchandise. Assemblymember Jackson, you brought this up. There is no definition, and merchandise was specifically excluded from the bill last session after significant negotiations because of concerns about counterfeit merchandise around sports paraphernalia and other items. Our current ordinance excludes such items. Our sidewalk vending ordinance excludes such items, which could be merchandise, including weapons, drug paraphernalia, other types of things, adult-oriented material. There are no exclusions to the definition here. I know there were pictures put up about the types of merchandise that the vendors would like to sell, but that is not in the bill. This would put us in the, I want to also talk about our existing ordinance. The existing ordinance in Clark County excludes commercial areas. So I want the people in Las Vegas to specifically understand, if you are being added to our ordinance, you are prohibited from sales in commercial areas. It will be in the residential areas, and also prohibited from selling adjacent to a corner, to a highway. There will be hours of operation that they will have to comply with. And this is one of the things with the amendment that says that merchandise is just excluded for counterfeit. That puts our business license department in the role of trying to enforce what is counterfeit or what is not counterfeit in our community. And the reason why it's business license is because largely our ordinance is restricted. The sales where you can do are in the residential areas. I know this is population capped. I want to just say, as the largest jurisdiction in the state, there is a vast difference between the city of Reno and Clark County. So for that reason, I am opposed to this bill. Thank you very much.
Yohan Tiros on behalf, from Karen, Nevada, on behalf of the Henderson Chamber of Commerce. I'll make this brief. They represent they have over 2,000 members, and majority of whom are small businesses to express their opposition to AB 180. AB 180 will create an unfair advantage for specific groups of licensees, subjecting them to less stringent requirements than other businesses. The business license process should be fair and equal to all applicants. However, AB 180 will allow the government to selectively grant privileges, effectively picking winners and losers in the marketplace. In addition, residential neighborhoods are carefully zoned to maintain safety and quality of life. Yet this bill would permit sidewalk vendors to operate in spaces not designed for commercial activity, creating potential hazards. Finally, traditional brick-and-mortar businesses which provide staple employment and generate essential tax revenue will face significant disadvantage under this bill through an unfair licensing process and potential negative effects to the bottom lines. While the business community strongly supports entrepreneurship and small businesses, this bill introduces unfair, inconsistent licensing and will benefit one group at the expense of others, creating imbalance in the regulatory system. For those reasons, we oppose.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Paul Murat with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is opposed to AB 180 and the proposed amendment. We are concerned about the broad definition, as you've heard from the Clark County, about the merchandise. Typically, that extensive type of list you would see in a retail operation such as a gift shop, a pharmacy, or a souvenir store that do require significant costs to get up and running. So we are concerned about that as well. Regarding SB 92 that was adopted last session, in those compromise conversations with stakeholders, merchandise was specifically taken out to some of those points you've heard about, those concerns that those entail, and that was part of the compromise. That bill also specifically called for a task force that I served on behalf of the business community, and the cottage food conversation and the merchandise conversation were not part of those conversations, and nor were they part of the formal recommendations from that task force. So then I questioned the purpose of the task force and why we spent about over a year and a half having those conversations for not to follow those recommendations for consideration from the body, but to rather to bring this bill forward. And also, as from the chamber perspective, the equity and parity to our existing businesses has to be taken into consideration. And we know you do, of course, because so many of those reside in your districts and they're job creators, they're employers, they are workers in those stores in your districts. And we believe that this bill creates significant challenges as it relates to zoning, access to sidewalks, and enforcement. With that closing, we do recognize, of course, as many of you know, the Chamber has advocated for years about lower licensing fees and easier regulations and streamlining, and we are working with our local government partners, but we believe that this bill will create a different class of businesses and equity in the system today. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Kelly Crompton, representing the City of Las Vegas. The City of Las Vegas is in opposition to AB 180. The Las Vegas City Council adopted an ordinance that did not include merchandise from our sidewalk vending ordinance in an effort to protect public safety, reduce challenges with enforcement on what vendors are selling, and avoid potential issues with fraudulent or stolen goods being sold. Even if counterfeit goods are excluded, enforcement still becomes difficult when trying to determine what is legitimate and what is not. To address some of the comments that were asked, or questions that were asked during the presentation, currently, a vendor selling jam at a farmer's market does not need an individual business license to sell those homemade confections. The promoter of the farmer's market would be the responsible party for pulling the license for those types of events, not the individual. To address the comments related to each jurisdiction having different restrictions of their vendor license category, the Southern Nevada jurisdictions worked after last session to ensure that our ordinance within Southern Nevada were all the same. The business license managers meet monthly in the interim and throughout the year to work on recommendations such as multi-jurisdictional licenses. Keeping these types of requirements out of state statute allows our licensing departments to work quickly and nimbly to align with each other through the local government ordinance process instead of waiting to make changes to state law every 2 years. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chair Considine. For the record, my name is Joelle Gutman-Dodson with Northern Nevada Public Health. And I just wanted to extend my apologies to Assemblymember De Silva, because I was just made aware of this amendment this morning. So I wanted to get on the record that we have some real concerns with the potential impact of the amendment regarding the cottage food permits. As you are probably aware, there are two other bills being proposed that significantly change the definition of cottage food, and also where cottage food licenses where one would get a permit, moving it from local jurisdiction to the state. So with this amendment, it's really confusing with how that would work. And we're worried that that would negatively impact public health and food safety standards. As mentioned earlier, I was also an appointed member of the Street Food Task Force, and I wanted to reiterate that cottage food was not an agreed upon recommendation. There was one agreed upon recommendation, and that was to have state-funded commissaries in both the north and south. So I'm here today asking Make the Road to engage public health in this conversation so we can weigh in and tell them our concerns. And I also wanted you guys you all to know I realize Washoe County is pop capped out of the amendment, but I'm not sure how that'll play out later on. And I am speaking on behalf of public health for the state. Thank you. Or for the entire state. Thank you, not for the state.
Chair, members of the committee, Nick Vasiliadis on behalf of the Nevada Resort Association. For the record, we stand firmly opposed to this bill as drafted and with the proposed amendment. A bit of history, last session on SB 92, a bunch of the people here who are opposed today actually worked as part of a stakeholder group to try and find resolution to that bill and recognize the need to balance, kind of young upcomers with food vendors and also the needs of the community with the existing business structure that we have. And most of us actually, and in result of that compromise, came to the table and supported that bill. So it might be odd that we're here opposing today. I think the thing that we find most frustrating, however, is that a task force was set up and almost none of those recommendations were brought forth to you. And most frustrating to the Resort Association is that merchandise piece. Last session, the merchandise piece was a significant piece of the deal to bring us to the table and support this. We do have to protect the state's key economic driver, and sports is a big aspect of that, and selling merchandise through those sporting venues is significant. And for all of those reasons and all of the reasons that you have heard before today, we are going to stand opposed to this bill, and we would urge you guys to oppose this as well. Thank you.
Good morning, ma'am. Brian Wachter, Senior Vice President of the Retail Association of Nevada. We strongly oppose AB 180, which seeks to revise local government regulations for sidewalk vendors. Our primary concern centers around the impact this legislation would have on the cost of doing business and fair pricing structures that traditional brick and mortar retailers uphold. Traditional retail businesses in Nevada invest significantly in complying with regulatory requirements, licensing fees, rent, wages, taxes, health, and safety standards. These mandatory expenses directly influence the cost of our products that we provide to our consumers, and these mandatory expenses directly influence that process. AB 180, as proposed, would grant sidewalk vendors and mobile food establishments unfair economic advantages by allowing them to circumvent or minimize many of these essential operating costs. When you talk about why these costs are so up, all of the regulations, every single license, every single story you heard from today is a cost that must be recuperated into prices. We feel it's an unlevel playing field when traditional brick and mortar retail are having to compete with merchandise from folks who don't have to follow the same government mandated rules that you folks are bringing. We also think that there's some safety issues regarding merchandise. For instance, baby formula, which for something in the language, there's nothing that would seem to prohibit the sale of, needs to be stored correctly. There are lots of different merchandise products that the safety and the storage deal with how well you're able to consume them and whether or not they're going to be harmful for you. We don't see anything in the provisions that address some of those handling and safety concerns, and for that, we remain opposed to AB 180.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 180? Seeing none, we'll go to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to AB 180? Seeing no one, we'll go to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone on the lines wishing to testify in opposition to AB 180?
If you would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 180, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Barry Johnston, Las Vegas, BERRYJOHNSTON. While I agree with and appreciate AFP and Libre for their work is important, but I feel they're taking what they can get to help people because this body is terribly parasitic and businesses are desperate. The Nevada legislature and municipalities continue its obsession with control and extraction. AB 180 is sold as a simplification, but make no mistake, this bill isn't about freedom. It's about centralized licensing, data collection, and keeping the state's boot on the neck of these hardworking Nevadans. You're not helping sidewalk vendors. You're trapping them in a bigger government web. These people are trying to sell food, flowers, and trinkets, people who just want to feed their families. And what do? You make them ask permission, pay outrageous fees, get licensed, and tracked in some government database. For what? So the state can squeeze them for a few more bucks? This isn't governance, it's legalized theft and economic slavery. The founding fathers would be ashamed. Thomas Jefferson said it best: a wise and frugal government should not take from the mouth of labor the bread it has earned. You're doing the exact opposite. Instead of liberating the smallest entrepreneurs in our state, you're tying their hands with regulations and using the excuse of health and safety to justify your bureaucracy, all while the same government squanders billions, waste, corruption, and failed programs. If you truly wanted to help these people, you'd abolish all licenses, recognize the right to earn a living without permission, and get the government out of the way. The vendors and workers in Nevada don't need your protection, they need your absence. The groups today are worried about what you steal from them via government fees and taxes. Solve the problem by leaving us alone. Stop trying to engineer a society through regulation and theft. Let the people trade freely, just as the Constitution agrees. Welcome the hustle, but we also don't need to spend money on other languages. Learn English, adapt, overcome, fight to eliminate government, break the
Thank you.
chains of
That is
government.
2
They should not be
minutes. Thank you
enslaving
for your call, Mr. Johnston.
If you recently joined the call and would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 180, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Peter Salva, Senior Government Affairs Manager for the Nevada Restaurant Association. The association is in opposition today due to the cottage food, and we want to ditto what Reno Public Health District was saying. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Chair, we have no additional callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will move on to neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on AB 180? Seeing no one in Las Vegas, is there anyone wishing to testify in neutral on AB 180? Seeing no one approach, AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to give neutral testimony on AB 180?
Chair, the public line is open and working. We have no callers for neutral at this time.
Thank you. Would the presenter like to make any final remarks? Go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Considine and committee. Just a few, Ruben De Silva for the record, just a few brief comments and very brief to close today. I just want to thank everybody, who's participated in these negotiations. I know that we're all coming from a place of good faith, that we're trying to, work this out. I'm also very much encouraged by the fact that the local municipalities are working on a MJBL, a multi-jurisdictional business license framework that could potentially come out before the end of the session. But we also believe that we should also push this bill forward, just to be assured that we can get something done in this regard. I know that many of you have received letters and emails. I've received a whole bunch even before this even started from folks who are really petitioning, using their First Amendment right to let us know how they felt about this issue. And I went back and looked at some of those zip codes that these letters were coming from, and I even asked some of them when I meet them, where are you from? What's your zip code? It helps me kind of like aggregate where these needs are coming from. 89101, 89115, 89106, 89110. 89031, 89032, 89156, 89030 were some that did come out in multiple individuals from these zip codes. And if you look at those very zip codes, you'll also see that they're some of the poorest in our state in terms of per capita income. We talked about fees, $310 fine, $1,600 licensing fee, a couple $100 for background checks from multiple jurisdictions. I mean, to some folks, this is just the mere, fees and of doing business. But to some individuals who are, coming from these, again, some of our most in need, most socioeconomically disadvantaged zip codes and parts of the state, this is a big deal. And, it's also my sense that, government is here to help people, and try to, allow them to give some kind of a foundation, some kind of a catapult even, especially for those who want to help themselves. So I just want you to think about that, as we move forward with this legislation. I know this is going to be an ongoing bill, and I'm looking forward to working in good faith with everybody who was in support and was in opposition to this piece of legislation. Because in the end, I believe that it's going to cut that red tape, make a more streamlined process available for folks who really want to make something of themselves in our communities, in our state, in our country. So thank you for that, and thank you for the opportunity to present this bill today, committee. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 180, and we will now move to public comment. Public comment is not an opportunity to rehear testimony on a bill, and we ask that you please keep your public comment to topics within the jurisdiction of the committee. As a reminder, members of the public comment can provide public comment. Members of the public can provide public comment in person or telephonically and may submit public comment up to 24 hours after the meeting. Instructions for providing public comment can be found on the agenda. To provide public comment telephonically, dial 888-475-4499. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 840-6124-6725, and then press pound when prompted for a participant ID. Each person will have up to 2 minutes to provide testimony, and please remember to clearly state your name for the record. And as a reminder, we expect courtesy and respect in all of our interactions on this committee. Is there any public comment here in Carson City? Seeing none and seeing no one in Las Vegas, we will move to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone online for public comment today?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. We have no callers for public comment at this time.
Thank you. The next meeting will be Monday, March 31st at 8:30 a.m. in 3143. That concludes our meeting today. The meeting is adjourned.